All right, well, we may as well just jump into this since we're already talking pre-podcast.
Well, I think it's like the whole longevity. Longevity is kind of like morphed into what people are interested in now. Yes, people are interested in aesthetics, but it seems like less. Don't you feel that? Don't you feel that way? Maybe it's just us and like getting older.
Yeah, I
But
can't tell. I can't tell if it's our age group that's
yeah,
like, oh, I'm not gonna, do whatever, and then I'm not gonna lose weight, or I'm just trying to put on muscle. I want to feel good. I can't tell if it's like me just giving up and being like, oh, aesthetically it doesn't matter now. I'm just going for longevity, or if it's like I'm actually like caring more about longevity. But for sure, I think you look at podcasts like Huberman and Galpin and like all these other ones, they're really less focused on aesthetics. Like I feel like when we first started podcasting, like in 2018, there was much more podcasts on aesthetics and things like that. But now it's like it's heavily switched for sure you know, to more of a like longevity based stuff.
it's almost like everyone kind of figured it out. Like before it was like, dude, how do I get jacked? And then you'd have podcasts about it. And then it was like, now it seems like everyone's like, yeah, all right, we all understand how, but we don't really understand the longevity stuff. So let's talk about that
Yep.
and sell products on top of that. I think that seems to be where it's going, and that's where I think physical therapy has a real opportunity to take advantage of what people are looking for. Like you've got all these function health, all these like blood work companies testing that stuff, but they don't have the musculoskeletal piece that we could provide. And, yeah, like you're saying, well, if a national company picks this up and just kind of takes it from us, but, we can only do it in certain areas. And I don't know that they are, and maybe they'd be interested in it. I don't know. We'll see. But I think like I saw something too that, what was it? In some state, PTs get recognized as primary care providers.
I think like Utah might have just started doing that. I don't think, and that's kind of like it's like a tricky legislative thing. I think I haven't read into it a ton, but it seems like from what I've read, it doesn't actually change scope of practice, which is good, right? Like PTs should not be seeing people for like colds, flus, like
Yeah.
pneumonias and things like that. I think it's more of just like one from a standpoint of most states already have direct access where someone can go to a PT straight away without a referral. That's one barrier to this, but this gives people access to it. But being a primary practitioner, one, it can lower the copay, right? Because you're not paying the specialist copay, you're paying the
Right.
general practitioner. So it can help lower costs for the people accessing this care. And then,
You think it does
maybe
anything with the insurance reimbursement or?
that's yet to be seen. I don't know if it goes down or if it goes up. I know that the copay percentage becomes lower. Um, but I think the other thing that helps maybe eventually is that if we are recognized as primary care providers from a Medicare standpoint, that can help to lower the barrier for direct access for Medicare, because we know that like there's still some necessity of like getting doctors to sign
Referral.
progress notes and things like that. So I think it starts to open the door. And I've always said this, man, is like PTs could be used for so much more than just like physical therapy rehab. Like the doctorate degree, the amount of anatomy and physiology we take, the amount of like all of the musculoskeletal knowledge that we have, I think there's such a good place for us, like even within the primary care system, to be like taking triage. Like I could imagine a hospital system like, hey, this person complains of a musculoskeletal complaint. Instead of going to their primary care physician, that's like for illness, this person's just going to go MSK route and they're going to go see a PT right away who's going to help them make the diagnosis, order the images if necessary, those types of things. And like almost become the first line of defense. But
Yeah.
honestly,
What
like
do you what do you think the percentage of like a primary care doc is seeing back pain or sprained ankle or so? Like I I live right above urgent care, primary care, and I see people limping in all the time, and I'm like, I don't know what this guy's gonna really do for you.
Yeah. It's a high percentage, and usually it's just like, hey, you should rest and ice this thing, or like whatever. Oh, go see your primary care physician, right? Because like urgent cares are meant to help people with like immediate issues that need something. And if it's not like, I wouldn't say life threatening, because that's not all urgent cares are there for, but especially ERs, like that's what they're there for. Is like, if this is not life threatening, then like our point is like to get you good enough to leave here, you know? So it's
Yeah.
like, they're not trying to help you like figure out a rehab plan, figure out a diagnosis. They're not trying to present you your options. It's just like, oh, go see an ortho. So it's like,
Yeah.
I think there's gaps in the system, but I always thought that PTs should also help like with the being the point guard for like people's fitness in general, like wellness health, right? Because like we're much more apt to like be able to point people in the right direction of like, oh, you should see a nutritionist, or oh, you should see a personal trainer, this kind of thing. And almost like a general practitioner in that way, where a GP sends people to PT, sends people to speech, sends people to like this specialist, that specialist. We could help be the point guards from the MSK standpoint. Because like, I mean, we've worked with a lot of trainers, and there's just a knowledge gap, like one, the issue with the personal training world is that it's not standardized. And so there are highly educated personal trainers, and there are personal trainers that have taken a weekend course. And so I think physical therapists could be like perfectly placed in that ecosystem to like make sure that we are kind of like maybe not even executing the training stuff, but we are overseeing it from like a health standpoint, helping the trainers with like load management. Because I've never heard a trainer even talk about load management. In like, have you ever worked talked to a personal trainer and they're like, yeah, this is what we're doing for like load management. And so it's
No,
like,
not a trainer, only like a S&C for a team or something like that. But that's
exactly. And I think like overseeing that on a personal level, because talk about longevity, when you talk to as many people as I talk to, like patients wise, and I think this is a like decade of your life thing. Like once you hit your 30s, once you hit your 40s, you're much less like focused on aesthetics. One, because aesthetics are so much harder to achieve. If you're a male and you're like
right.
testosterone's lower and like this, and right, there's some like
You got more
physiological reasons.
life stuff going on, like
Yeah, and
things.
it makes it more difficult to hit the aesthetics part, but longevity wise, you can actually hit a lot of metrics, and
Yeah.
you won't see it sounds counterintuitive. It's like, well, if you have the longevity stuff, shouldn't you be hitting the physical metrics? It's not necessarily the case. Um, but like more people I talk to, they're like, I no longer want to like lift just to be like the strongest guy ever or have a six pack. Like I just want to feel good. Like I don't want my back to hurt when I wake up in the
Yeah.
morning. I don't want to get injured when I go play pickleball. Like I don't want to, I don't want to have to deal with all these things. And I
Speaking
think
of that though, did you hear those two stats on that? This may be how we know it has shifted. I don't know, but there's a stat that there's more millionaires in the US than people with visible six packs. And
that
they said there's more people worth
10
10
million.
million plus than can bench 225.
Yeah,
So
that's
that to me
crazy.
tells me people are getting weaker. I know, yeah, there's getting more rich people, but it seems like people are getting weaker or just less interested in that.
What do you think went up? Do you think it people got weaker, or do you think people got richer? Like proportionately.
Like what went faster? That's tough.
I
Also,
mean,
how do you get these stats, dude? Like, did they check me? I didn't have anyone check my lift
it's a
my shirt
question.
up,
It's
dude.
gonna be like they're gonna question like 1,000 people. I
Mm-hmm.
bet it's gonna be heavily skewed on where they got the answers from too. So it's like,
100%.
it's like if they're asking people in like, you know,
LA or
or Bellevue, they're gonna
or
get a
yeah.
proportionately higher percentage of like tech engineers who make 10 million and can't
Can't.
bench.
Yeah,
No offense to the tech people listening to this, but I would say there's probably a higher proportionate of people that are richer and weaker in the tech field.
for sure.
But No, it's an interesting thing. I think with the digital age going the way it is like I think people are more and more interested in outdoor stuff and being healthy. I mean, you can look at this from like a macro standpoint of like alcohol consumption is down like a crazy percentage.
Yep.
And it's
At
like
the lowest,
that,
right, that it's been.
yeah, it's like it's like dipping a ton. People are trying to figure it out, and like all these alcohol manufacturers are going to like trying to make non-alcoholic beverages now because they're like, dude, like no one's drinking, and so I think it's just like that shows the greater trend of like people are drinking less, people are probably trying to get exercise more and be more fit. Um, and people are just more aware, I think. There's all this stuff about microplastics and like whatever you think about that. I don't have any opinion on microplastics and reproduction rates and all this stuff, but like all of this stuff you see in the news, I think just brings a general awareness to people where they're like, man, like you got to really actively try to be healthy, and if you don't, life's going to get you. And I think there's like good businesses in there. It's kind of like physical therapy. Like I love owning a PT company because it's like the business does good, right? Like the more people we see, the more people are helped to get out of pain and back to whatever they want to do. And so like it's a great business to drive because you don't never feel like you're selling something phony. It's like you're directly improving your community by getting more customers. And
Do
so
you
I
get
think that
that sense though? Do you get that sense that this is like more than ever a time where people are interested in PT? Like that's how I feel. And again, maybe I'm biased because we are in it, but like this is the longevity piece. You no longer care about like I just want to lift 300 pounds. You're like, man, I want my back to feel okay, and I want to like be able to walk around pain free.
well, I think a lot of people start to realize that like if my back hurts all the time and I can't exercise, then I become more unhealthy, which starts this downward spiral. So like I have to fix the issue that started this whole thing. It's like and usually it's interesting, like from my perspective, and obviously as a PT, this is probably like biased because I see more people in this standpoint, but a lot of times it's like a physical issue which causes people's downfall. It's like, oh, I broke my
Sure.
ankle. I couldn't walk for like 6 months. I gained a bunch of weight. I was eating terrible. And now it's spiraled downhill, right? Like I started, like I'm borderline diabetic. I've got, I'm overweight, this and that. So like solving that physical problem is one of the things that helps people. And we see it on like the extreme case, which is like if an older person breaks their hip, they have a massive chance of death within 1 year
Yeah.
of breaking their hip. And it's because of the sedentary behavior, right? It's like you're no longer able to move and walk, which is good for your cardiovascular system. It's good for your brain health, like all of those kind of things. Good for your circulatory system, all that kind of stuff. And so once you lose that, you start to go downhill. But I think that happens on a micro scale, and as people let injuries add up, like I've certainly been like this has happened to me, and I've had to work really hard to get past back pain, which I've solved, knee pain, which I work through all the time based on my history. But like those are things I'm very consciously aware, and I think more people are getting aware of that kind of stuff because they're like, damn, like if my knee feels like this at 30, how's it going to feel at 60? And a lot of people have that thought that goes through their head. And so, and there is stuff that can be done about it. And I think like, again, longevity and PT, it's like solve the musculoskeletal issue first. And then we are well positioned to help people with every other problem, cardiovascular fitness and all that kind of stuff, right? Like a medically supervised exercise program, but given by PTs that have their, certified strength and conditioning specialist like certs, right? So I think
Yeah.
there's a model, and we've piloted it for sure. It's been well received.
That was going to be my next topic. So I should have known better, but I went to this naturopath and I didn't do a ton of research. They actually just had an online booking, and I was like, yeah, let me just do it. And didn't say like much about their specialties or whatever, but I was just kind of thinking, oh, naturopath, they're probably like into performance and longevity and like, just maximizing your life and everything like that. And so I went there. We did like a physical and did like blood work. And physical. I was like, all right, what did you just check for? I don't really know what you just did. How does this kind of affect what I'm trying to go for? And we did the blood work, and she's like, whoa, like this is incredible. And I'm like, okay, so how do I get better? And she's like, I mean, you're just like as good as I've seen. And I'm like, yeah, okay. This now it makes sense the difference between like I'm putting myself in a patient's shoes that is looking for our type of PT and like looking to do that, but just kind of Google searching and going anywhere. Like that's like the exact same thing case study as people that like I know what they're looking for when they come to us, but if you go somewhere else, it you're gonna get a lot of generalists who just aren't that interested in it. Like I was asking, I was like, look, I want to be like on fire. I want to maximize energy. I want to perform in the gym. She goes, oh, like wasn't really sure what to say,
Sure.
and that's on me for not going to someone who actually loves that, is specialized in it, interested in it, and like doing their own outside research in it.
Yeah. No, and I mean, that's a good point. It's like not every provider is super, super interested. And I think when you are super, super interested in something as a service provider, it makes it way easier to actually provide that service. Cause like if someone comes in and is like, yeah, I really want to like maximize my pickleball game. I want to, I want to be able to lift all this weight, and then the PT like has no interest or training in like those things. They're not going to be able to provide quality advice. And so, yeah, I mean that's an interesting thing, and I think that's an advertising point that we've hit on, but could definitely hit on more about, again, like we've talked about it. It's like not saying one is bad or one is good, because like that naturopath you saw might be really good for like women's health or like hormone optimization. You just landed in the wrong room.
Yep.
Um, but it's like emphasizing how you're different is such an important part of marketing. And this is one of those cases where it's like, if you just walk into a PT clinic and you want to be like, yeah, I want to be able to walk around, go up and down stairs, this and that, like go somewhere else. But if you want to come in and you're like, I want to really like be back at the top. Like I want to be like back to like high level golfing, not just being able to golf, or I want to be able to ski hard all day, not just be able to like ski with my grandkids. Like those are the kind of things that we help people optimize with the tools that we have inside of our clinics. And so I think that like, people out there with businesses, like that's what I think is the differentiator in marketing, is making sure that people are very aware of the intricacies of how you're different versus just like, we've done it shitting on other practices or whatever, right? Like obviously we've never called anybody out, and like we aren't that type of marketer, but there are a lot of people out there that do that. Um, but I think it's if you have to have the interest, right? Though, like I think we would be well qualified to do something like this because we have me and you who are interested in this stuff, and then we have a lot of PTs who are interested in this stuff. But if you have like companies always try this, I feel like they try to do something because it seems like a good business move from a monetary standpoint, but then they don't have anyone that's like passionate and gonna like do the work to be the best at it, and then it
Yeah.
just flops.
Yep.
We've done that with certain services, man, like where we've been like, oh, this would be awesome, let's do this nutrition route, and then it's like the person behind it really just doesn't have the gusto to make it happen, and it just flops.
Yep.
So like it's a good thing to think about when you're going after a segment, is like you've got to have someone that's excited about working with that segment, and like really hopefully your whole company is geared towards that. And it kind of highlights to me, like, we've learned it over the years of business, which is like, don't just do something because you think it's going to make money. Like, do something because you think you're going to be excellent at it, and then it will make money. Because if
Right,
you
right.
just do things to do things, they're never like I mean, dude, one of the four pillars of when we started High Def was mindset training. It's like neither of us was that interested in mindset training. Like, we liked it from a standpoint of like, oh, that's cool. Like, I would like to have a strong mind, but it's like neither
Yeah,
of us were interested in psychology and like, like, or training people on psychology. And
for
so like
sure.
that thing never took off. It was like what we enjoyed took off, and so like that's it's something to think about at least.
Well, and to your point about like people try to pull this off, but they don't have the people to do it. That's kind of why, you know, I wouldn't say it's a requirement that you have to lift weights or whatever to work at high def, but I definitely look at people and I'm like, do they on their own time do a lot of the things that we preach and are interested in? You're just gonna be way more interested in learning more, right?
Yep.
Like the guy who runs on his own is gonna want to learn more about running. The the PT who does CrossFit competitions is gonna want to keep learning about helping people lift weights. So it's like those are the types of people that we bring in, and like it's not this if I have to, right? It's they want to be learning
Yeah.
this shit because they like it themselves.
Yeah, we don't really bring people in where PT is the side hustle, the side interest, right? It's like we bring in people who are obsessed with physical therapy and their craft. And it sounds silly, but it's like it's the same thing with the best business people in the world, the best salespeople in the world, the best programmers in the world. It's like the people who are the best at what they do are constantly like nerding out. Like, dude, I mean, the other day we were on a business call talking about business for 3.5 hours. And we watched the Hormozy launch on a Saturday for like 6 hours. And we're like in the text group, like breaking down everything that's happening and like, oh, what a brilliant idea here and what a brilliant idea there. And like all this kind of stuff. How can we use this in our business? And it's a Saturday, right? It's like that is
Yeah.
what we're nerding out about. Like you need to find for the people in your company, like you've got to find the nerds who are like, and nerds in the most positive way possible. The people who are just like obsessed with whatever the thing is, like those are the people you need in a company. We've seen that those people become successful. It's not like people have to devote their whole lives to it, but what you do need is that when someone's in there for at least their 40 hours, they are giving it their full effort and trying to grow and learn, and then are putting some sort of outside effort. Because it's like practice versus games, right? Like to me, the 40 hours in the office is like your games. And if you never practice, then you never get better,
Yeah.
or you get better slowly because you're like learning as you work with people versus like going out there and reading stuff and learning from the best. And so like, yes, I've gotten way better at business by doing business for sure. But the best way is like to go out and read a bunch of stuff, watch a bunch of videos and learn, and then implement, figure out what works, refine, and then go do that same thing again. It would be
Yeah.
very hard. And I see this all the time from business owners. You can't just learn how to operate a business by operating the business. You get you get reps and you learn what works, but to learn new stuff, like you have to be taking in books and podcasts and like things like that, at least if you want to go fast, right? And you don't
Yeah.
want to just learn based on mistakes because you can shortcut yourself so much. So the same thing happens in every industry, right? Like you want to find people who are obsessed with payroll. Oh, I'm obsessed with like tax and loophole. Like if you're a CPA and you're not obsessed with like what's coming out in like tax advantages and all this kind of stuff, like it's not what I'm excited about, but I want to find people who are excited about that and get them on my team.
100%. Yeah, that's what I look for in a lot of services too. Like my barber, dude, he's always talking about like different things that he learned and different tricks about the fade, and like he learned this special technique for heads shaped this way, and I'm like, yeah, I'm sticking with you, man, because you're like you're interested in this. You're not just like, okay, this is what we've been doing for 20 years. Like, um, those are the types of people I just like to be around in general. That's kind of what with our meetup. I'm like, that's who I think of. Who do I want to invite to this? I want to invite the guy that's like on fire about something, doing something, and
Constantly
like
trying to
has,
refine the craft and trying to be the best. Yeah.
yeah, like Lee, man, like he's like on fire, and it makes you on fire when you talk to him.
Yeah, I mean, it's fun to hang out with people who are doing that kind of stuff because it also motivates you to continue to build your craft. And like at one point, I always felt kind of stretched or like, I don't know, like pulled in different directions where I was like, man, I should just be the best at PT and learn that. And then when I started operating the business, I was like, maybe I should just give up on trying to be the best PT and just learn more about, the business and all that stuff. And what I've realized now is that especially like when you own the business of the service, both are okay to focus on different amounts of time depending on where you're at in life. And like I always like the PT owners or the business owners who are also really good at what they do. It's kind of like Alex Hormozy, right? Like he's very good at sales and strategy, but he also is still learning it from other people. He's also practicing it, right? It's kind of like PT for me is like learning the business only helps you grow the skill set to bring more PTs in and all that kind of stuff. But then you still have to, learn the skill set of PTs so that you can, be the top of that. And like you and I have a different dynamic, right? Because like we're lucky that we have both of us and one of like you could focus more in on certain things, like and you're not spread so thin. That's the hardest thing about solopreneurship is that like you have to be a jack of all trades and be constantly learning everything, or you're going to have to spend a lot of money and not be profitable in the beginning, bringing people in who are really good at other things because like replacing skills is like, you have to be the best at marketing. You have to be the best at sales. You have to be the best at like operations. You have to be the best at the actual craft itself. And like, that is extremely time consuming and difficult to do. And so like you and I have divided and conquered some, but it's a tough thing to do. That's why did you watch that video I sent you today?
A little bit. That guy was rambling too much.
Yeah, but dude, it's only like a 2-minute video. But anyway, I thought it was pretty interesting, especially towards the end, what he starts to get into. But I like what he talks about in like the 1 to 3 million range because we went through this, right? It's like role duplication, going through like if you have a business that's in the $1 to $3 million range, the thing that gets a lot of people stuck, especially as clinic owners, is like most clinics can get up to like $1 million or $2 million clinics. You don't have to have, I mean, you have to have like what, 5, 6 PTs max to get into that range. What people start to struggle with is role duplication. And one, they don't know how to hire someone good in those positions. 2, they're too cheap to hire someone really good in those positions. Or 3, they're just not willing to put in the time to learn those roles themselves to get out of this like sticking point. But you and I were lucky that we got through that sticking point and got, up to like where I think we're at right now, which is like process creation, which has been the number one driver of like our business at the size we're at right now, is like making sure that there are really good processes and systems like SOPs that drive us forward.
Yeah, that's a good point. So I was talking to my buddy who's working on a startup right now, and I thought you'd love the conversation because he was like, "Man," he's like, "We got like 6 months left based on like the money we raised." He's like, "We just fucked up because we started with no product, but they were like, this is $100 million idea. Let's build the foundation correctly." He's like, "Dude, we were paying a HR director of HR $100,000 a year," and I was like, "What do we need HR for? There's 7 of us." But they're like, "Yeah, but you want a good foundation," and I'm like, "Man, I just that's not how we've done it," and that's where I see a lot of people go wrong. It's a nice idea, right? And on paper, it's like, oh well, you don't want to run into uncomfortable situations where you need HR. What about when you need them? And it's like, no, you do want to run into uncomfortable situations. Like that's exactly because that's a lot less uncomfortable than running out of money.
Yeah. No, I think, and that's what one, fractional HR exists for a reason. 2, It's like when you've got that small amount of people, what the hell is an HR person doing on a day-to-day basis? Like we're like jack of all trades people. Where like our director of ops is going to help out with some HR stuff. I do some HR, it's like it's just how a small business has to work. And to me, that's what a bootstrap company does, right? Like, yes, if you have a ton of funding and you have a runway, but like, dude, lengthen your runway and spend less on dumb shit. Like it's so crazy to me that someone would think that that's a good idea, because also the person that you hired to run HR at 7 people may not have the skills to run a 100-person HR company. And by the time you get to 100, you might be able to afford a more expensive HR person with more experience. And you're just going to have to fire the person that you just paid 100 grand a year for the last 5 years to get to 100 people. And then now you've got an awkward situation in that where you got to fire the HR person. It's like, I don't know. To me, operational efficiency and like scale efficiency is everything, where it's like pay for what you need and then outsource at a minimal cost, whatever. Like, and we've seen it. We've insourced positions that were previously outsourced over time. Which is, it's what's led us to be able to bootstrap without taking on any debt, without having any problems with cash flow. We've never been restricted. Our growth has been like, obviously like from a Inc. 5000 standpoint, 858 fastest, privately growing company in the country. And that's with us like pumping the brakes, probably not from like a, cash flow restriction standpoint, but more of like a making sure that we are acquiring the right skill level of providers standpoint and employees. And so like to me, man, that's crazy that someone would, I've seen that happen though, where people bring in some person like, you're like, dude, why do you have like you guys are all C-suite employees and you have nobody underneath you? Like what happens now?
But that it's a good point for like even for like our team, like I think that people get scared when you run into uncomfortable moments or like when you break systems. But in my mind, it's like that's kind of what's supposed to happen, don't you think? Like you're supposed to max out your resources, and then once it starts to break, you figure out what you need to add on or whatever. Like that's just a mandatory part of the process.
Yeah. And I think as you get bigger and there's a little bit more flexibility in your budget and there's a little bit more operational flexibility,
Yeah.
a good leader starts to forecast those problems and you bring someone in before those problems start to really hit. But like when you're small, you just literally don't have the finances to do it. And it's not a wise financial decision for anyone to bring those in. And like we had this conversation with an employee recently where it's like, all these things would be great to have. I would love to have full-time HR in-house billing. I'd love to have like consultants telling us what to do. I'd love to have like all this other stuff, but like that's just not how business works. Like you have to be able to make enough money to support that. And one of the ways or the way of making money in our business is PT seeing clients and doing visits. And so unless you want to do more visits as a PT, some of the back end is going to be constrained. It's just harder to do without bringing in more money. And so that's just like one of the facts of life. But, I've been happy about, we're a service related business with, we've had to operate within constraints, which has made us creative. Like we went a lot further marketing than a lot of companies did with full marketing budgets of millions of dollars a year. And we were able to do more with less just based on creativity and hard work. And like, part of me is like, I don't ever want to lose that by just like taking on money or like, pouring money at problems. Cause like at the end of the day, that's not really what the answer is for a lot of people. It's not like pouring money at problems is not a good solution.
Right. Yeah. And I think people also think it's a guarantee when you do that, right? We've spent a lot of money on people doing SEO and it didn't work.
Yep.
I'm sure there's plenty of people who paid people to do their social media and it didn't work. Now you're like, dang, I'm out 10, 20 grand. That was my, I thought that was going to save this business. It's like, it's not
Well,
guaranteed.
and that's what I always thought about coming up in business was it was like what things are crucial to the business that we should be doing that like someone else paying someone else to do it, they have no accountability because if the business fails, the worst thing is they're like, oh, sorry, I tried. And for us, that was lead generation for a large point of time was like we couldn't outsource Google ads, Facebook ads. And like we would learn, we would buy courses on how to do these things better. We tried to pay an SEO person to do it. And quickly we realized like if this is at least my philosophy on business is like crucial things that are like live or die for your business or make or break for you, you should be very knowledgeable and know how to do it and also know how to like do it at a high level and then be willing to put in the work to do it. Because like I always have hated the idea of like letting our like future ride on someone else who maybe is not as bought in as I am. Obviously, as the business owner, you're always going to be the most bought in person. The managers and like directors for us are going to be number two. And then like the idea is that you build a culture where everyone's bought in. And so that, you know, the idea of culture is like everyone is doing what they should do on a daily basis to make sure that the business is thriving. That's the definition of a winning culture, right? And so ideally you get to that point, but still like even on your come up and even in this position we're in now, like we can't let the future of the company ride on anyone who's less committed than us. And at this point, no one is more committed than we are. And so we have to know how to drive the functions that make the business go. Like certain other things don't
100%.
matter. Like people can drive the bus on the remote programming or whatever else, right? Like we have to know how core systems operate and make sure they operate really well. Because that's security. It's kind of like having like, you know, single points of failure in your business. If you have one thing that if something bad happens, then or someone leaves and then your whole business is ruined, you don't really have a business. You got a key man
Yeah.
syndrome, you know?
Yeah. And I like too, like we've kind of done everything in the business. So we also understand, you know, I might not be as good at front desk activities as I once was, but we also understand what it's like and how to do it and what it takes. You know, same with like the marketing. Like, hey, if Google just shut down, well, we know what we got to do. We got to be out in the community. We got to like hit the different spots that have where our client avatars are, and we know what to say and what to offer.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like I always said it. It's like you got to know enough to be dangerous. And it was interesting because like so many times, like just doing a little bit of studying, I love watching YouTube. I love learning about business stuff. And so like, I mean, we going back to the SEO thing, it was like I could tell the guy what the SEO strategy should be, this and that. Like, I was waiting for someone to be like, yeah, that sounds all good, but you should also be doing this and this and this, and this is really what's working. And here's what the like when you bring someone into a business and you can tell them more about the business than they can, it's a good sign that you shouldn't hire that person. And if you don't know anything about the business, then you have no idea. And so at the very least, you need to understand as a business operator, and what I've started to realize more is like knowing enough to be dangerous in everything is very difficult, especially at a high level. What you just need to do is like develop KPIs that show you whether it's working and not working, and then be ruthless with the KPIs. Because if like someone comes in and says, "I'm going to improve your efficiency of visits on the schedule," then it's like perfect. Do what you do. You have 90 days, and at 90 days, if the efficiency is not up, you're gone. And like
Yeah.
that's the key is like having KPIs and then understanding. Now, I think there are certain positions where it's like, you know, that's like outsourced to me. Insource, like people should still hit their KPIs, but like, you know, like marketing, for example, like sometimes you just need volume of stuff to happen. And so like those KPIs are harder to track. It's more meta. And like some of business operations are more meta anyway, right? There's like a lot of people that go into, for example, like efficiency. there's like the therapist plays into it, the front desk plays into it, our intake coordinator plays into it, benefits verification team plays into it. So there's a lot of different steps that happen. But like for me, it's like if I ever hired a Google Ads expert, I'd be like, I'd expect my click-through rate to go up. I'd expect my conversion rate to go up. I'd expect my cost per conversion to go down, and like the total of hours should go up, right? Like there should be things you look for that make sure that things are working inside your business. And if they're not, then you have to be able to say, hey, like this didn't work. Like we fired that dude who we paid 10 grand and we didn't go like, oh, sunken cost fallacy. I've already paid you to do 10 grand of work. I may as well just keep you on board because like then I'm going to have to start all back over from scratch. And this is actually, I don't know if we want to go deep into this topic now because we're 40 minutes in, but like switching costs are real, right? Like that is a moat that some people have where it's like once you give someone over the reins of your entire Google Ads profile and they're like your business hangs in the balance and you're afraid because you're like, dude, if I switch this company, I've got to switch all the payment systems over. I got to do all this. It's like, that's why I try to create layers of limitations. Like we were talking to our business partners and it's like outsourced HR and payroll, but then they created the moat. It's like, dude, they could have run payroll within the system, but no, they're going to transfer all your employees over to their company. And so then, dude, what's the
good luck
switching
getting out
cost?
of that, right?
Yeah, what's the switching cost there? It's like to change back over all of the because they had a full team that changed all these people over and do everything. And it's like to change that back out, the switching cost is high. It's the same with like our bookkeeping, right? Or whatever else, right? It's like when you're embedded in people's system, it's very hard to get out because the pain of switching is higher than the pain of staying. Because like operations is very difficult.
That's why bigger companies go so slow, right? Is like,
they don't want to get locked in.
They don't.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then B, if they are locked in, it's a pain in the ass to get out. So that's tough. That's why, it's like you see, yes, we like to talk about being agile and everything, but you could see how like as you grow, it's kind of harder and harder to be that way.
Well, this is what Jeff Bezos famously talked about: one-way and two-way doors. You make a decision that's more of a one-way door. To me, that's like just something that's like high switching costs, things like that. Like it's funny because this goes right into my topics for today, which was like we changed EMRs, we changed from one to the other, and the switching cost was so high because there was like we had to like literally physically the cost, which was like we had to pay for 2 EMRs for a period of time. We had to pay people's hours to like switch over. There was also some of the pain, which was like you and I on a weekend and some of our other team like doing all this stuff. Like literally we had like a paint the windows black moment in my basement where we like had all these tables set up with computers and we were just switching over. And if you don't want to do that, the switching cost is financial, right? You pay your team to go in for overtime or whatever, right? You choose whatever your cost is. For us, we chose our time. A bigger business, maybe nowadays, if we switch, we would probably pay more people to help us. But like those are all costs. Like, I mean, the biggest one that people think about switching costs is like iPhone to Android or Android to iPhone. I've personally made that switch in my life. It's a difficult switch because you have to switch over all your shit. And then now that I'm on iPhone, if I ever want to switch back to Android, like I have all my photos and stuff are saved in the iCloud system. And so like that is tough to move out, even though Samsung or Android has its own, Google has its own thing. But it's crazy. Have you ever heard of the Magnificent Seven? Have you heard that term?
Potentially. What's it referring to? Magnificent
Seven is basically like the top 7 companies in the S&P 500.
Oh,
so basically The top 7 companies in the S&P 500 have 1/3 of the market capitalization as of 2024. So out of the 500 top companies in the world, only 7 of them control 1/3 of it. And it's Alphabet, aka Google, Amazon, Apple, Meta, Microsoft, Nvidia, and Tesla. And the thing I think about with all those companies is they've created really good moats and they have massive switching costs, right? Like for Alphabet, their biggest product is the cloud, and same with like Microsoft. And I imagine like to switch all your stuff out of a cloud and to migrate it over has got to be so time intensive and data intensive, and like the downtime alone on that is like crazy costs. But it's interesting to think about that too, because it's like every product that we interact with on a daily basis is like the most valuable ones, they have like a really high switching cost. But I think about for physical therapy, there's not really in medicine, the only switching cost to me is like the provider not knowing your background and stuff. And that's why people don't want to leave a provider, by the way, is like you develop a relationship with someone, they feel like they know you. And then like when you leave, they're like, oh my God, I have to start from square one with this next person. When this person, I feel like took 2 years to finally figure out how to help me, you know? So it's like, it's an interesting thing to think about in PT of like, what moats can you create and what switching costs? I think like data is one of them, right? Like I've got all your force plate data, I've got all your strength test data, like, but people always have access to those medical records, but it is a switching cost in itself to like have to go and request that stuff and then upload it and all that kind of stuff. So it's kind of an interesting thing to think about, because each of these companies has a different type of moat. Like for example, Meta, it's like, or Instagram, like these creators are not leaving Instagram because like it's so hard to build a following nowadays on a new platform. Like people don't leave. Same with YouTube. It's like, and YouTube is Google, Alphabet. It's like people don't leave that platform because like the cost of switching is so high, especially like socially. There's a social cost, right? Like now you're the weird one on Vero instead of Instagram, and no one else of your friends is over there. So like the cost is like losing access to your friends, you know? So it's an interesting thing to think about why all of those Magnificent Seven are so magnificent. And I think like one thing I've thought about is high switching costs, you know, helps to lower churn and helps business, but you still have to have a great product, right? Like if Tesla stops developing great cars, eventually they get beat. But it does help for the down years, right? Like Apple's super high switching costs helps them get through a couple shitty iPhone launches. Like there's definitely been years where they've launched an iPhone and people have been like, boo, this is the exact same phone as last year. What are you guys doing? This and that. But what
I'm
happened?
not leaving, but
Those people still didn't switch. They just complained about it and they stayed.
that's
And
like
then
Tesla, dude.
yeah,
That's like
for sure. They
Tesla.
had more.
People are protesting Elon in their Teslas with like stickers. I'm like, you won't even get a new car, dude.
You won't even sell it. Exactly. And one of Tesla's moats is all the self-driving, like the features. Some of it's like the safety, but the biggest thing, it's always like, it's kind of like the credit card companies, or sorry, like airlines, where you're like, oh, a lot of their revenue is generated by having a credit card. Tesla, one of their highest switching costs is actually the charging stations, because there's really not another good network of chargers out there. The problem is for Tesla, now there is becoming a way better network of chargers. For a long time, it was like you had to own a Tesla, because if you had any other car, you couldn't charge it anywhere besides your house and maybe a couple other places. And Tesla chargers were everywhere. So they had the infrastructure, which was their moat, which was like, oh, we have Tesla chargers at every gas station, like at hotels we have them, like we have this whole map system within the Tesla that will plan your route based on those chargers, so we know we can confidently get you where you want to go. And so people were like, oh, that's a great product, that's a great moat. And they're willing to put up with bad product rollouts for periods of time. But, you know, if Apple just stopped innovating and didn't do anything, people would start to switch. But what I think that moat and that high switching cost does is it buys you time. Like we put up with our
Yeah.
old EMR for a very long time because it was like the switching cost was so high. But as soon as pain to stay is lower than, pain to leave, or pain to leave is, sorry, lower than pain to stay, then people start switching. And so it's
Or
an interesting thing to
someone attractive comes around, like that was the thing too, is we were kind of there, like there's nothing really else out there. And then
yeah.
over time, like you said, it buys you time, but if you don't capitalize on that, someone else will come around and take over. So I
Yeah,
think
it's like
that's
if Tesla
something
made a
you
phone.
always think about.
Yeah, it's like if Tesla made a phone right now, I think you would get a good amount of people switching from both Android and iPhone just because it's an exciting new opportunity to change platforms. Um, but again, you have to create an app like Apple has an app called Switch to iOS, and it basically migrates your entire Android phone over. And they've paid however many tens of millions of dollars in programmers to just develop an app that helps you switch your iPhone or to an iPhone from an Android phone specifically. And so like that just shows like how important that is. And I remember consulting for an HEP platform. And that was always my thing, was like, you guys should have some sort of system, like whatever the biggest target for HEP platforms that you're going after, you should have some sort of process that migrates all of the data that you want over. And like our EMR system that we switched over to had a decent process of it, but it was like there were so many gatekeepers, and it was like, oh, all these things are going to switch. If they would have come in and told me like everything switches over exactly perfectly, and you don't have to worry about anything, and it'll be in one day, it'll be done.
Would have done it. Yeah.
I would have done it years earlier. And so it shows like when you're developing a product or a service, you should try to create moats, try to create high switching costs, but then also make it really easy to switch from another place, right? Like whatever
Yeah.
that service is. Like services naturally have a lower moat. Um, but it's like, you know, you have somebody who comes in and does your maintenance on your AC unit at your house. It's like it's easier to stay than find someone else new, make sure that they're good. Oh, do you know what kind of maintenance this is? Do you like that's where these services businesses kind of have an advantage. It's like, oh, I installed this, so I know exactly how all the plumbing was run to it, the electrical was run to it. I know the filters that it needs. I've got you listed on my schedule to just come out and do it for you. So like that becomes a really easy continuity product that you could sell.
I I think for PT, for us and anyone, like, yes, the data, but also I think it's perception too of like all these things. You got to really start to hit on that, uh, because maybe someone assumes someone else would already have their data or could easily get it or whatever. But like that's where the experience comes in too. Is like, man, I'm having a good time. I don't think anyone else is like gonna be able to match this. So it's like that's part of your marketing, is like showing people why you're a sticky service, and I think that's what we're starting to do. But I think we could even do a better job of just constantly like building things into their plan of care that shows them that like this is the place you want to stay.
Yep. Yeah, and it's almost where like testimonials become just as important for current customers as they do for prospective customers. Because like that is social proof that like I made the right decision, right? And
Yeah.
like that's what's going to lower churn, right? So I don't
Because what do
know.
you think? What do you think is the main reasons, top three reasons someone does churn in PT?
Uh the value equation gets skewed. The cost and the perceived likelihood of achievement get too high or too low, depending on how you're looking at that. Like, right? Like it gets either the cost gets too high or the perceived value or the perceived likelihood of achievement gets too low, and then
Well,
effort and
but
sacrifice is too high.
I guess that's probably more like just quitting PT. But what do you think the reason that someone would just like go somewhere else?
That's what I think still. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, like perceived likelihood of achievement under this person. Like, oh, they don't seem like they know what they're doing. I'm gonna go try
Yeah. Yeah.
someone else. Like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
I think it's still value. I think everything. That's why Hormozy's value equation was so brilliant. I don't even know if he's the one that actually created this in the first place, but I attribute it to him because that's where I learned it. But it's like everything to me just comes down to the value equation. Whether you're quitting PT or you're going to find someone else, I think the decision to either quit or change, it's a lot easier to quit. So the switching cost of quitting is way lower than the switching cost of changing, because then you have to go call a new place, go through the insurance verification process, find a new provider, go try them. Do I even know that I'm going to like this person? And so I think a lot of people, where the value equation gets skewed, they just go, the pain in my knee is not that bad. I'm just going to quit PT. The person who switches is like, the pain in my knee is really bad, but I don't think this person that I'm seeing is going to be able to help me with it. I have to go find someone else, even though it sucks ass to go and like find a new place because I've been here for 3 visits. And so like to me, for someone to churn out and switch PT practices, that's like, whoa, that means you were really doing a bad job. Like that person was like really like in pain and needed help, but then they're like, I need to find help somewhere else. I think there's always going to be natural churn stuff, right? Like people move away, people get disinterested. They go for something that they're like, oh, actually, this is fine. Like I'm not that worried about it. But I think like those other people, it's all about the value equation. And so I don't know, just as like a mental exercise, I think there could be something you could implement if you're having trouble with churn. Let's say statistically, most people churn out between visit 3 and 4. At visit 3, you supply them with a bunch of testimonials from people that have a similar condition that they have that have had success. Hey, just want to let you know, I know that we're 3 visits in now. Here's all the success we've had with this condition in the past. I know like at times people question, am I actually going to get better? It's tough, this and that, but here's some proof of people that we've helped in the past. And so like, I just want to make sure that you know this so that you don't end up quitting on yourself. And I think that becomes a powerful thing, because I think a lot of people quit PT or things in general right before their breakthrough.
Yeah.
Because they like people quit weight loss all the time. It's like before you really start to get traction, you just quit, or you fell off the wagon.
It's perception again. Yeah. It's like, that's where I think we could do a better job of like, here's where you were, here's where you are, just saying, cause like, it's not all going to be super apparent, at every visit or at certain phases. You got to kind of be able to steer people along the journey. I just saw like, they say like Domino's, that pizza tracker, like changed everything for their business. Simple thing. People just want to know where they're at.
Yep. Well, I think for all the people who stuck around to minute 58 here, let's do something fun for them, of anyone who's listening, because this would be a good exercise for us. Like, to me, and this is actually something I just have been thinking about and want to implement. We do stuff like this, but like, let's say your churn point, let's say you're like, I have 2 on average. If people are going to leave, it's 2 visits and they're gone. Let's just go industry average 3. You call the first 3 visits the magical 3, and you have like a system for, this is what we do at visit 1. We give someone something. Here's what we do at visit 2. We give them something else. Here's what we do at visit 3. We give them something else. And then I'd be curious, like A/B test that and see, do people stick around better? Like, it's like, hey, visit 1, we give them a welcome box with a t-shirt. Visit 2, they come in and they get a water bottle, like that's filled with hydration. Visit number 3, they get the testimonials and a book or whatever, right? And then it's like, you got to figure out whatever works within your budget. And then I'd be very curious if you had a systematic retention model like that, or if it even matters, right? Like if you're like 80% of my customers that are the ones that are going to hang around, and this is a natural weeding out process of getting people off the schedule to get people in who are going to be more committed. I don't know. Like that's why it's like, that's the fun thing about business, is like some things are theory and some things are fact, and you have to test those things, right? You have to figure out like, is this theory actually true? Or am I just delaying the inevitable where I gave these people three things that cost me $25? They stank around for one more visit. Now they churn out after 5 instead, the minute I stop giving them stuff. You know, so like,
And I think that the next piece, content, becomes fun because you do those things so that you have some things to talk about, right? That's like Hormozy's whole thing is like, I'm just trying stuff, and when it works, yeah, I'm going to talk about how we did all this shit.
yep, for sure. Yeah, I think there's like low cost options to be able to try this stuff out. But like that's the fun of business is like, just like brainstorming things, trying it out, seeing what works, and then if it doesn't, like, I mean, who knows? Like you and I are probably going to launch something around this idea of like, hey, how do we lower churn? Maybe we start with one thing. It's like, hey, at the third visit, you get this packet, and this has like a gift and some testimonials.
Well, what about the eval sheet? Remember, we've been testing that out. Like, instead of just saying, all right, like, that was good, let's schedule some more. It's like, let's go through it. Let's review everything. Let's like actually give you something physical, and just assure that we say this. It's the same convo. Sales is sales, like for a reason. There's certain things you can say and that work. So if you can replicate that, like ideally it brings the churn rate down. I don't know how well that's been doing as of late, but
well, the tough part is always with every one of these things is like training on the system, implementing the system, and then monitoring and make sure it's happening, right? Like there are certain therapists who do it much more frequently, and there are certain therapists who don't do it. And then the good thing is you just compare churn between those ones, and you go like, hey, by the way, this person's doing, this 75% of the time, their churn rate's, way lower than yours by 10%. So this proves that you should be doing this thing, right? And like, then you back things up with statistics in your training and all that kind of stuff. And then at the end of the day, if people don't do it, like you got to get the people that don't want to be a part of the system, get them off the bus. Cause that operational, people hanging on that aren't going to help, like, or are even going to be a deterrent to your operational systems. Like that's really tough as a business. Like to have people that are actively like going against your SOPs and your operations and stuff like that.
Yep.
So listen to the rest of that video I sent you, dude. I'm telling you, it talks about it. Just it's like 3 minutes long, 4 minutes long. Just do it,
dude. He's like, "What page is it on again? Let me see." And I was like, "Dude, I got
to go back to that spot. Go on.
I gotta go.
Keep going." Your freaking TikTok, your TikTok brain needs to let you go through this.
I know, brutal.
All right, that's the pod.